stand up and rise again. Oh, yeah. All over the
Awesome. Today is June 17th, 2020, and you are tuning in to the Morning Wake and Bake show with the Chosen Family. This show is brought to you by our community, Minnesota Marijuana, and organization Minnesota Normal, which is www.mnnorml.org. And go visit the site, check it out, do a little research, figure out how you can become a dues paying member and join the fight for legalization in Minnesota. So, for today, ladies and gentlemen, on our show, we have a few things we'll be discussing, specifically in national news, which is actually all right. So, I'm not going to ruin it. So, it's basically the big lie that we've been told about THC percentages, and we'll dive into that in 1 second. But after that, we're going to jump into some local news. And that's going to be about this lab over in Andover, Minnesota, which is apparently the only lab in Minnesota right now that is actually starting to do testing for marijuana purity, which is actually kind of big news because it'll allow the groundwork and the framework for, testing once marijuana becomes legal for recreational. So, yeah, so first let's dive into this national story, which is about how marijuana THC percentages really don't play the role that we thought it did as far as like the effect that it has on us. And this is a story from Forbes, which is like, damn, okay, all right. So Forbes generally is a pretty good source. Not very questionable. They usually deal in like money and finances and stuff like that. But so this is definitely a huge story, and I think a lot of people are going to be surprised by it. I just kind of scanned over it, but basically what they were saying is that they did some testing, they did some like studies, and they had like two to five people who were like concentrate smokers, and like 2 to 5 people who were like flower smokers. And they split them up and they gave like the flower smokers, like half of them some like 17%, and then half of them like some 25%. And then they did like another pair for the flower smokers and did like half of them at like 20% and the other half at like, I don't know, 30%. I have to look at the numbers, but and then they did the same thing with the wax smokers, like 70% wax and then 90%. And what they found is that based off of their self-reporting and of the people who were involved in the study, that there was really no difference in their self-reported highs or effects from smoking the lower to the higher. So they basically matched. And but they also did some testing of their blood and stuff, and could see that there is quite a big difference as far as like the level of THC in their blood, which was really strange, because I think a lot of us have believed that the higher the THC content, the more effect we're gonna feel. But what they're finding out is that the entourage effect plays a much bigger role than people really understand. And a lot of people don't know that THC is just like one of hundreds or maybe even thousands of cannabinoids inside the cannabis plant. And even just like the terpenes, each plant has, hundreds of different terpenes, creating a very special and unique flavor profile in each different strain. So it's not just like a naming convention, like there's actually science and shit going on a genetic level, strain to strain. And so, what do you guys think about that? Let's discuss this for a minute.
I think it's kind of dope, people get tied up in strains and CBD and THC and levels, and I think it's interesting to know that there's really no difference.
Yeah, and because I know personally, like I've had some outdoor that has been to the same quality as far as like the effect as like some really good indoor with like a bunch of crystals and all this stuff before. And like it's always
Right.
kind of blown my mind. Like it's always been in the back of my mind, kind of like, okay, so how that happened? Maybe it was like a one-off thing. But I think what it really comes down to is like during the growing process, like what are you putting into the plant? You know, the environment that you're creating for it, are you preserving the terpenes and the different cannabinoids, or is the environment or like the curing process or whatever destroying those things, which in turn would destroy that entourage effect?
I think a lot of it's strain specific. I think a lot of it has to do with the terpenes, specific terpenes. I think the THC is only one portion of the high that we all know of the high. So if you've done
Right.
diamonds, that's a different high.
Mhm.
Straight THCA is a different high than if you smoke straight flower, you get all those terpenes. Same thing with the pens, it's a different high. Even certain concentrates, if they don't get all the terpenes back, it's a different high. Every strain that you smoke throws a different high at you. Some are cerebral, some are, very body-like. It's those terpenes. It's not the THC. The THC never changes. Everything else is the terpenes inside that change that high that we all get.
The combination, right? So
Yep,
how does that?
it's that genetic sequence.
So how's that affect when you're dealing with like dabs and things of that nature?
They add a lot of terpenes back, but you can dab straight THCA diamonds. There with no terpenes added back, no nothing. That's a really, you're high. I mean, you're really freaking high. Don't get me wrong, but it's different. It's not the it's not real. In my mind, it's not real body buzz. It's real cerebral. It's really in your head.
Yeah.
So the dabs are more like in your head, heavy high.
Well,
Yeah, like kind of pass you out kind of crap sometimes.
I'd
But
say
I
like
don't
get
the
terpenes
diamond
added.
concentrates are more like that, like distillates
Yes.
and like diamonds, because the terpenes are removed and like a lot of the cannabinoids are removed. But like you look at like live resin, rosin,
Correct.
a lot of shatters, everything stays within, and unless they separate it to make diamonds, which is the process where it separates on its own. But yeah, like depending on the quality and like how it's made, like even in the wax concentrate arena, it's like the same thing, where you can have a high be completely different on one end of the spectrum to the other.
Yes, as long as those terps are added back in.
Right. So what about something like CBD,
So the cognitive,
dabs, and things like that? Now, without
Same.
the THC, do you no longer get that entourage effect?
Well, that's-
So
study was the cognitive effects of it.
yeah.
They did certain testing as far as what we would consider, like for alcohol, roadside evaluation tests. They did a lot of the cognitive testing with that as well, and they found that there was no difference in what they were reporting from the different people who were smoking the concentrates versus the flower versus the cognitive effects were all the same.
Yep.
So whether it's THC or CBD, or whether it's flower or
Whether it was flower at high concentrates or low concentrates, or waxes at high concentrated levels or low
So that-
concentrated levels.
now that would be for the full plant, but that wouldn't be specifically for
Yeah.
CBD versus THC though.
Yeah.
So like with
specific-
CBD dabs.
Yeah, so specifically, they didn't do the testing for CBD. It was a kind of like a footnote where they mentioned it, where
Okay.
CBD is like one of the other hundreds of cannabinoids, but they didn't
They were-
actually do the testing for CBD. It was specifically for THC.
And then you got to think that the THC is going to have a different effect if you have high levels of CBD or lower levels of CBD in there, because you're kind of looking for the entourage effect. And then there's like CBG. You
Correct.
guys know much about that?
Yep, CBN and yep.
So those are just different compounds of the same basic thing.
Yeah, those are just the different cannabinoids, and a lot of them, they show up in such small amounts, and a lot of the studies are just finding out what each one is doing. Like they just found out that shit, I can't remember what it was, TH something, THA or THC something. But it's like it shows up in very trace amounts, but it's like 50 times stronger than THC. But it's like really, really small concentrates. And so like they're still doing a lot of studies to find out like what each one of these cannabinoids do. And a lot of that has been slowed because of the prohibition, you know, since the 40s or 20s or whenever that started, that has kept, you know, universities from getting the go ahead and do that study on cannabis.
I mean, most of all this research is coming out of California, Oregon, Colorado. I mean, Canada, some of it's coming out of now. Places that have legalized and allowed their schools to do research. Remember, up until Colorado, nobody could research this anywhere almost in the world, except for Amsterdam.
Yo.
I guess let's cross over into some of the local news. Do we have anything on the local that's going on locally?
Father's Day event is coming up.
Yeah, I'll just quickly mention this. So there's a lab over in Andover who just started doing purity testing for cannabis products. And their main focus was actually for CBD. So what has been going on apparently has been like the Minnesota testing has only been able to really test whether or not THC or CBD is present in a plant versus like the actual purity levels, like the amount. And so this will be actually the first lab in Minnesota that will be able to do purity testing for levels, which will actually help like our local farmers and stuff not have to export their stuff, you know, for testing or whatever. We can do it in
and that's for CBD companies. So like our products are tested at a lab out of state.
Yep.
Just because there was nowhere to test it here. So we do keep the lab reports, and those are all posted on all our products. But it's dope to know that there's a local facility here that we can go to for testing on our products now.
Vari, do we know the name of that place?
It is.
Give him a little shout out here. Sorry, Michael.
Just a little one though. No, I'm just kidding.
just a little guy. You know, it has the scientist's name.
It's all right, Vari. We'll get that information and we'll either have it available tomorrow or we'll drop it down in the chats. But it's dope to have those companies because there are a lot of companies out here that have CBD products and they're trash, or their products are tainted, or they got vapes and they've got it cut with all type of incipients to kind of stretch it out, or it doesn't have the limit that they say. So it's good to have some way to, you know what the product you're getting is a good product or if it's some bull crap. You know?
It's Midwest Regional Forensic Lab in Andover.
Okay.
Midwest Regional
Forensic Lab in Andover.
Yep.
I know there was an article probably 2 months ago about CBD in the Twin Cities. They did a random test. There was a lab here in the cities that did random tests on locations, and it was more on not on the amount of THC, but just everything else that's in the CBD as far as heavy metals and everything like that that wasn't being disclosed or disclaimed on all the products. So that was that was an interesting article. And I don't remember what lab that was that did that.
I imagine that the heavy metals would have been in more in the vapes that they were testing, probably.
I'm not sure what they all tested, Michael, to be honest with you. I remember the article. I don't have it. I wasn't kind of prepared, but I could look it up at some point here and repost it.
I think a lot of it is like generally is like pesticides, heavy metals, and mold and mold and mildew is like the main things they test for.
All right, we'll move on to Jenny. She's got a cannabis fact for you guys today. We're gonna do a bong cheers real quick. Normally we would have a guest. We don't have a guest scheduled today. So If we have topics that we want to touch on for our next 25 minutes after the bong cheers, I'll open it up to you guys to have an open conversation. I'll hand it over to Jenny.
Cheers.
Cheers, Frozen family.
Cheers, everybody. Cheers. I salute ya.
So now this is our guest speakers portion. I know we have a couple people that are in attendance. Now for the people in attendance, if you don't join the live before we actually go live, you'll have to stay in attendance. But we're gonna let you guys in today because we don't actually have a speaker at this time. So get a couple of you guys in here real quick. What up, Brandon? You're a regular every day.
Yay, Brandon's in.
Ed Engelman,
Hey,
we have another one of our
Ed's
celebrity
in.
candidates. Ed,
Ed, we needed you earlier.
Morning.
Hey, Ed, what district are you running in again?
17A,
What city is that?
Franklin, Minnesota.
As it says by his name. You guys go check out Ed Engelman. He's in Franklin, Minnesota. If you're in that area, go check him out. Check out his page. Support him. We don't do any endorsements. We haven't done any endorsements, but as you can see, he's one of the activists that are actively involved in legalization. There's going to be a lot of candidates out there this year that are claiming that they're about legalization. They may have ran under our parties, but they may not necessarily be about legalization. I'm sure you might have seen the article that was put out the other day by the Minnesota Reformer. That is somewhat of a concern, but it is a good dude, longtime activist. Go out there and support him if you're in his district. Ed, you got any information for where they can find you? Do you have a website up or anything?
I have Engelman for District 17A Facebook page up, and they can email me at engelman2020@hotmail.com.
Hope you guys got that. Thanks again for joining us every morning, Ed. Man, the invite is open to all legislators who are running for office, whether you support legalization or you don't. Our line is always open. If you want to get on and you want to talk about the issue, please feel free to jump on. We don't just have LMN or grassroots candidates. It's open to DFL, GOP, Independent, Green Party. I don't care what party you represent. If you got something to say about cannabis and legalization, please reach out to us. We'd love to have you on the show. Yeah. So we'll do an open discussion now. I know we've got voter registration training tomorrow with Sign Up. For those of you who will be joining us in the morning, we're not going to be doing this one live. So tomorrow we're not going to be live. If you want to do the training, you got to jump in on the Zoom. The Zoom information will be posted. I'll post it tomorrow. It'll be during the Wake and Bake crew. So if you already follow the Wake and Bake crew, just follow the regular Zoom link. If you don't follow the Wake and Bake crew, we'll post the link for the Zoom on Facebook and on actually YouTube. We can put it in the comments so you can join from YouTube. But we're not going to be live tomorrow. Tomorrow is training. So we're doing training in the morning. So shout out to Sign Up Black for helping us out with that and all the support she's given us over the last couple of years. Shout out to the Chosen family, all you guys for helping us make this live possible. If you're just joining us, we've been doing this live for 2 months now.
Yep,
Is
about
that right?
that.
Yeah.
About 2
Coming
months
up on
now,
that.
every single morning, you know, we're
April.
on here. So jump on and join in with us.
Forward for being our fearless leader and keeping us all together.
Well, it's a
As
community
Michael
effort.
Ford, thank you for pointing us
Thank
in the
you.
right direction and keeping our asses in line.
Yes, sir.
I
Yes, sir.
appreciate y'all's
Mr.
support.
Fulford.
And thank you guys for getting your tickets
Thank you.
early for Loud on the River, so you didn't have to scream at me for not getting a ticket. Because man, oh man.
Hey,
So,
I asked
do-
prior to the release.
yeah, I know you asked, Brandon. But the issue with that is I didn't know it was going to sell out that fast. The only way I can track how many people are actually on the boat is by the actual tickets that I have.
Yeah, so
I asked people, so I've been asking people to purchase the ticket, and then when you wear your pin to the event, you'll get refunded for that ticket.
yeah, I
That's
didn't
the
I
only
didn't
way
know
I can
about
track-
that.
What's that?
I didn't know about that.
You must have missed the live. You weren't on with us yesterday or the day before? We've been
No,
saying
I
it for a
wasn't
couple
on.
days.
No.
No, okay.
I've
Yeah,
had a
sorry
late
about that,
start.
Brandon, but you know I got
I've
you,
had a
man.
late
Don't-
start getting on in the morning.
Yeah, don't worry about it. You know I got you, man. Don't you just reach out to me. You know, the most important thing is if people were really concerned about getting the tickets, all they got to do is inbox me. Reach out to
Hey.
me. I'll try to get to you. You know I got you, man.
It's not the fact of just getting a ticket at no cost. I still want to at least make my donation for the ticket.
Yep. Definitely. I'm not getting reimbursed. I made a donation.
Right.
Right. And I appreciate that, man. I definitely do. Man,
Yeah,
and
you know,
I know some of the members were kind of disappointed, but you know, I can't control if they sold out. You know,
Right.
I can't. Man,
This COVID got
Hey,
you
we
fucked
did-
up though.
we did put a pre-sale link up
hey,
in Minnesota Marijuana,
it's
but
still
by the
only
time
limited.
I woke up in the morning, we were sold out. I didn't expect that to happen.
Right.
you know,
It's
so-
limited right now, but it can still open up.
Yeah,
And
there's a
all-
possibility. And
Correct.
we do
Posted a
now
month.
have 2 boats.
I mean,
So-
we still have it's still a month away.
Yes.
Yeah.
He
Over
posted a
30 days.
You never know. They
And
could
that-
open it up to 100 more people. So
Yeah, there's a possibility. So we'll see how things go. But right now, as of now, we've got maybe 50 tickets left.
Look, I'm
Jenny,
ticket
I see
number
you got your
26.
ticket.
I'm number 26. You gave 25 to Tom, and I got number 26.
Yeah. So that's how it works. But excited to see you guys on there. Another thing, I'm gonna need either we're gonna have to cancel or somebody's gonna have to take over or take lead on trying to help organize the Father's Day event. So Father's Day is Sunday, my birthday is on Saturday, and my family wants to take me away. They think I'm doing too much, I'm too stressed out. They want me to get away from my birthday, so I'm not gonna be able to do that event for Sunday because I'll still be gone.
I'm
So
most likely not going to be around on Sunday either.
okay.
I'm probably going to be up in Brainerd with my dad. He's probably not coming down here. So
Right. So I think we're gonna have to redo another event for the Father's Day.
Talk about this, Michael, and we may be able to take care of it. I just need to discuss it with some other people quick.
Right.
Before I can commit to that. But let's not put it on the back burner quite yet.
Nope, not yet.
no.
Well, you guys, let me know what you come up with. With
Yeah.
events, I'm really particular with them. I pay attention, I track to how they're doing and how they respond. If we don't get a good, decent enough response for those events, I usually will cancel them or I'll reduce it somehow. Just because, like, if the Facebook event is the only thing we're using to reach out to people for that event, and there's only 50 people or 60 people in there, at 10% of that, you're looking at about 6 people.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So it kind of gets complicated, but we'll keep rolling from there. Var, you want to wrap us up?
Yes, sir. So, all right. So we come to the end of our show again. Thank you guys for joining us on this morning Wake and Bake show, presented to you by the Chosen family, Minnesota Marijuana and Minnesota Normal. Again, visit www.mnorml.com and do some looking around and figure out how you can become a dues paying member and fight for legalization in Minnesota. All right, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Smoke the vote.
Got to end all division amongst men now. So
So many have been replaced with the power money brings pain.